So here we stand. The Cleveland Browns have officially crossed into full-blown soap opera territory. And the central figure isn't Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, or even Dylan Gabriel. It's Shedeur Sanders. He never asked to be the protagonist, but guess what? He's the plot twist this franchise never saw coming. Word around the league is that Browns owner Jimmy Haslam is done spectating. He's seen enough. Behind closed doors, he's reportedly made it clear Shedeur Sanders isn't just a developmental project. He's the guy. If you want the raw story, the messy, unfiltered drama you'll never catch on highlight reels, hit subscribe. Because if you're sticking around to see how this quarterback saga unravels, you'll want to be locked in. Meanwhile, on the other side of this power struggle stands head coach Kevin Stefanski, looking like a man blindsided by his own boss. Stefanski and his staff are digging in their heels, clinging to Joe Flacco like it's still 2012, preaching veteran leadership and readiness, all the classic coach speak that really means we weren't prepared for this and we don't know how to pivot. Then there's poor Dylan Gabriel, once the hand-picked prospect, the supposed heir to the throne, the investment of the future, now reduced to the odd man out. Not because he failed, but because Shedeur stormed in, rewrote the script, and stole the spotlight with his arm talent, poise, and viral highlight reels. Gabriel isn't just losing reps, he's watching his entire narrative unravel in real time. And he's furious. Who wouldn't be? He went from the Browns' future to background character in Shedeur's rise. What we have now is a three-pronged civil war. Ownership wants Shedeur immediately. Coaches want to protect their timeline and their egos. The other quarterbacks realize the rug is being ripped out from under them. And the fans, they're glued to it like it's a Netflix drama, because this isn't just about who starts in week one. This is about the soul of the franchise. Are the Browns the type of team that takes bold risks, elevates raw talent, and finally builds around a star in the making? Or are they the team that plays it safe, sticking with tenure out of fear, afraid not that Shedeur will fail, but that he'll succeed, proving the coaches wrong all along? That's the elephant in the room. This isn't about football anymore. It's about ego, control, and fear. And something's going to give. Either the coaching staff swallows its pride and hands Shedeur the reins, or Haslam forces their hand with a power move. Because if Shedeur doesn't get his shot soon, the consequences are volcanic. The locker room splinters, fans revolt, and the moment this team drops a game because of stale conservative quarterback play, all hell breaks loose. We've seen this movie before, and it never ends well for the team that ignores greatness sitting right in front of them. So here's the million-dollar question. How long can Cleveland pretend this isn't happening? The clock is ticking. Every rep Shedeur is denied only fuels the hype for his eventual rise, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else. And if it's somewhere else, the Browns will once again be haunted by the ghost of a franchise quarterback they let slip away. Your move, Stefanski. Because this saga isn't cooling down, it's accelerating into chaos. Jimmy Haslam isn't just whispering suggestions anymore. He's gone full Jerry Jones mode, calling shots, overriding staff, and making it crystal clear, this is my team, and I'm not watching another decade of mediocrity while raw electricity sits idle on the sideline in a hoodie. When the owner starts flexing like that, the pressure scorches everyone, and let's be real, Kevin Stefanski has never sat on a hotter seat. Not because he's incompetent, he's not. He's disciplined, calculated, methodical. But that's exactly the issue. With a quarterback like Shedeur, you don't need more chess moves, you need courage. And Shedeur is pure courage. He's the kind of player who doesn't just fit your scheme, he detonates it. He's not here to develop quietly. He's here to turn third and longs into highlight reels. He's here to lead. And right now, Cleveland has a choice. Embrace the chaos or risk watching it consume them, because the locker room sees it. The players feel the energy spike when Shedeur steps onto the field. They hear the sideline eruptions. They know momentum when they see it, and momentum waits for no one.
And with every passing week without a promotion, it's beginning to reek of politics. Nothing poisons a locker room more quickly than that. The media? They're circling like vultures, waiting for the carcass. Leaks have already started to drip out. Anonymous whispers, so-called insiders, sources close to the team. You know how it goes. And once the press catches even the faintest scent of a power struggle between ownership and the coaching staff, it's finished. Because now the question isn't merely whether Shedeur is ready. The real question becomes, who's pulling the strings in Cleveland, and is that entire hierarchy crumbling from within? Here's the unspoken twist no one dares to say out loud. If Jimmy Haslam strong-arms Kevin Stefanski and mandates that Shedeur gets meaningful reps, and it works, then Stefanski is finished. Not instantly, not with a firing line at the podium, but his authority evaporates, his influence gutted, his future in Cleveland quietly expiring. Because once ownership makes the right call against the head coach's recommendation, there's no recovering from that fracture. That's what makes this saga so volatile. It's not just about a rookie quarterback earning a shot. It's about the entire power structure of the Browns. Who truly holds the keys? Who casts the vision? Who dares to gamble big? And more importantly, who dares to be wrong? Because if Shedeur succeeds, somebody is going to be exposed. And then there's Dylan Gabriel, stuck in the most excruciating position of all. Drafted with the staff's backing, groomed as the slow burn project, envisioned as the future. But now he's being outshined, outworked, and outbuzzed by a rookie who wasn't even supposed to make the final 53. His frustration is visible. You can see it in his body language, hear it in the passive-aggressive sound bites, feel it in the sideline reactions when Shedeur gets applause during warm-ups. Gabriel isn't oblivious. He sees the tide rising against him. He knows that if Shedeur takes even a single live snap and delivers a spark, the chance will rain down by halftime. And then what? Gabriel becomes the forgotten man, the placeholder, the other rookie. It's the cruelest twist in football, but it happens every year. This year it's just unfolding at warp speed. Here's what truly flips the script. The Browns are losing. Winning gives you cover. Winning allows you to hide behind developmental timelines, stability, chemistry. But when you're losing, excuses evaporate. Fans aren't calling for the scheme tweaks. They're calling for Shedeur. They don't care about gradual growth curves. They want the guy zipping lasers in practice, going viral with behind-the-back warm-up throws. They want juice. They want energy. They want hope. And Shedeur Sanders is hope. Maybe not yet in the polished Week 1 savior sense, but in the long-term, franchise-altering, finally, we've found our guy sense. So here we are. The Browns stand at a crossroads. Haslam wants the fast lane to the future. Stefanski clings to cruise control. Gabriel just wants his promised opportunity. Flacco seeks peace. And Shedeur, he waits, patient, focused, not begging, not lashing out, just working. And that, ironically, is what terrifies the coaching staff most. Because when the man being sabotaged isn't even complaining, when he just keeps sharpening his craft, proving himself with every spiral, that's no longer a rookie. That's a revolution. And if Cleveland mishandles this, they won't just miss the moment. They'll miss the movement. Because make no mistake, if the Browns don't unleash Shedeur Sanders soon, another team eventually will. And Cleveland will tumble right back into quarterback purgatory, wondering how yet another one slipped away. Because this isn't just about a rookie clawing for a roster spot. Shedeur Sanders is the spark of something seismic. The kind of presence that forces hard conversations in boardrooms, that makes executives whisper on the sidelines, that forces other quarterbacks to glance over their shoulder, not for pressure, but for relevance. And the Browns are learning that lesson the hard way. Right now, the franchise is scrambling to control the narrative, pushing the facade of a calm, strategic plan. Flacco as the bridge, Gabriel as the project, Shedeur developing. But fans aren't buying it. They see the meltdown playing out in slow motion. Every time Shedeur uncorks a 40-yard rocket in warm-ups, while Flacco checks down on 3rd and 7, the groans get louder. Every time Stefanski hides behind his tight-lipped, "we're evaluating everyone equally" mantra, the cracks in trust widen. And let's not sugarcoat it. This is boiling over. Fans are blasting clips on social media. Beat reporters are sharpening their sarcasm on X. Local radio is eviscerating the coaching staff for playing politics instead of playing their best quarterback. Even opponents are raising eyebrows. Word around the league is that more than one defensive coordinator has muttered the same question. Why isn't Sanders on the field yet? And every day, Shedeur Sanders remains sidelined after practices that clearly prove his readiness. The silence becomes deafening. If everyone can see the tape and the staff still refuses to act, that's not just questionable coaching, it's organizational malpractice. Because Shedeur isn't simply an option anymore. He's the moment, the rare, unpredictable, once-in-a-generation lightning strike that could redefine this franchise. And instead of seizing it with conviction, they're stalling. But here's the reality of hesitation with greatness. Somebody else will claim it. Lightning doesn't strike twice, and quarterbacks with Shedeur's DNA, his command, mobility, marketability, and sheer charisma, don't wait patiently as third-string placeholders. That's not how icons are forged. That's how they walk away. And here's the part Cleveland refuses to confront. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need the Browns. He already has the name, the following, and the game. If Cleveland won't develop him authentically, and instead hides him as a PR prop for preseason highlights, 10 other franchises will line up tomorrow. Because you know what head coaches across this league crave? A quarterback who sells tickets and throws darts. Shedeur is already doing both, before he's even taken a meaningful snap. So what's the holdup? Fear. Stefanski and his staff aren't merely afraid of making a mistake. They're terrified of being exposed. Terrified that if Shedeur steps in and thrives, the next question will be, why didn't you trust him sooner? That question is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Because Shedeur is going to touch the field through injury, desperation, or divine intervention. And once he does, there's no turning back. You don't bench a firestorm after it ignites. You don't bottle lightning after it cracks the sky. The moment he starts rolling, the stadium will rise. The city will believe. And Cleveland won't just have a quarterback. It'll have an identity. And that's the overlooked truth in all this. This isn't about week 1. This isn't even about this season. This is about whether the Browns want to step into the modern NFL or remain a risk-averse relic clinging to outdated notions of earning it slowly. Hey, look around. The Bengals took the leap with Burrow. The Bills bet on Allen. The Chiefs trusted Mahomes. Each was told their guy wasn't quite ready. Each ignored the noise. Each handed over the keys. And the rest is history. Cleveland could be next, but only if they stop managing the moment and start believing in it. And let's not forget, this is Cleveland, a city scarred, a fan base battered, a people who don't crave safe, they crave special. And special is standing on the sideline in number 5, launching missiles during warm-ups while the staff holds him back, like they're terrified of what might happen if he actually succeeds. Fans can smell the fear. You can only pedal. We're doing what's best for his development for so long before it starts sounding less like growth and more like cowardice. From the outside, it doesn't look like development. It looks like denial. And if Shedeur is wasted here, smothered by hesitation, it won't just be a missed opportunity. It'll be an indictment, proof that even when fortune handed the Browns a generational spark, they still found a way to fumble it. So, what's it going to be, Cleveland? You've got the arm, the swagger, the pedigree, the future. Watching veterans stumble while you keep telling us it's part of the process. Newsflash. We're finished with the process. This is about decision. It's about courage. It's about Shedeur now. Ask yourself, are you bold enough to leap? Or are you going to let another franchise write the history that could have been yours? Because one way or another, this saga ends. The only question is whether Shedeur Sanders becomes Cleveland's savior or Cleveland's greatest regret. This isn't just about depth charts. This is about legacy, leadership, the kind of defining choice that echoes for a decade. Right? Now, the Browns are sitting on a gold mine, and instead of cashing in, they're treating it like a long-term savings account. Spoiler, quarterback talent doesn't accrue interest while it rots on the bench. It depreciates. In rhythm, in confidence, in public faith. You don't hide a Ferrari in the garage while you drive the minivan to work. You let it roar. And that's what Shedeur Sanders is. Raw horsepower, swagger wrapped in polish, potential wrapped in inevitability. The kind of prospect that makes scouts sit up straighter and owners start designing jersey mock-ups. Everyone seems to know it, except Kevin Stefanski. And here's the kicker. This isn't meant as a hit job on him. He's balancing egos, juggling, veterans trying to hold a fractured locker room together, all while dodging the landmine of a mid-season press conference that asks the one question he dreads. Why is the rookie you buried now lighting up the league? This league doesn't reward caution. It rewards calculated chaos. And Shedeur Sanders embodies exactly that. He's raw, unscripted, untested, yet absolutely undeniable. Every time he touches the football in practice, there's an unmistakable spark. Not from the coaches giving half-hearted praise, not from the media spinning headlines, but from the players themselves. From the sideline energy, from the fans gasping at every rollout, every deep strike, every no-look throw that screams, "I belong here." And now, after weeks of empty coach speak, passive-aggressive interviews, and "we're sticking to the plan" soundbites, the Browns stand at the tipping point. The veterans are starting to whisper. Not in front of microphones, but in passing. Comments that slip through. "Kid's got an arm. No one else on this roster makes that throw." They're subtle, but they're real. And once the locker room begins to tilt toward the young gun, the momentum is irreversible. Because NFL, teams run on belief. And when players believe in a guy, they block harder, run sharper, and buy in completely. And Shedeur Sanders is earning that belief. Not because of his last name, but because of his last throw. Now let's pivot back to Dylan Gabriel, because you almost have to pity him. He entered this offseason thinking he was in a two-man duel for the future. He was supposed to be the coach's pick. And now, he's watching ownership skip over his reps to hype the other rookie. That's not just awkward. That's career-altering. Gabriel isn't going to quietly accept being the backup's backup. He's got pride, he's got tape, and he's got agents quietly testing the waters, asking around, what's the market for a young QB who still believes he can start? If Shedeur gets elevated, Gabriel's fate shifts instantly. Trade bait, practice squad filler, or insurance if Sanders stumbles. It's messy. And Cleveland created this mess by pretending the competition was equal. It wasn't. And now, no matter who they choose, someone will feel deceived. That's not leadership. That's paralysis. The truth? The Browns never expected Shedeur to walk in and outshine everyone. They thought he'd be a developmental story, a long-term project, maybe a future starter if circumstances got weird. But Shedeur had different intentions. He arrived on a mission, trained like a starter, carried himself like a pro, walked into that locker room with an aura that said, "You're going to remember my name." And now they do. So here's the dilemma. What's the next move? Because this train isn't slowing down. You either jump on board, or you get flattened. Cleveland must decide right now what kind of franchise it wants to be. Do they want to be the team that finally trusted their instincts, played the kid, and launched a dynasty? Or do they want to be the team that clung to safety and watched Shedeur Sanders become a superstar somewhere else? History is clear on this. The NFL chews up indecisive franchises. When teams hesitate with young quarterbacks, they vanish, shuffled, labeled, forgotten. And the cruelest twist? Sometimes the player himself starts to believe it. That's the real risk Cleveland runs. Not just losing Shedeur to another team, but corroding his confidence while he's still in their building. That's the kind of blunder you don't recover from. And the fans, they feel it. They've seen this movie before. Last time, it starred Baker Mayfield and ended in finger-pointing and regret. This time, they're demanding courage. Not for flash, but for truth. If you're Shedeur, you don't need handouts. You're earning it daily. But at some point, when the message stays, "Just wait your turn," you start to wonder, what exactly am I waiting for? A coach to be fired? An injury? A front office overhaul? Or just for someone to have the guts to say, "You're ready, let's go." Here's the perspective Cleveland needs. This isn't about preseason stat lines. It isn't about locker room politics. It isn't even about Jimmy Haslam versus Kevin Stefanski. This is about recognizing a defining moment before it slips away. Right now, the Browns have a quarterback with star power, charisma, leadership, and raw talent, sitting idle. And if they don't hand him the keys soon, another franchise will. And they'll be the ones playing in January, while Cleveland sits at home watching highlight reels asking, "What if we hadn't waited?" So let's make it plain. Cleveland, the future is staring you down. Are you bold enough to embrace it? Or will Shedeur Sanders become the next great star you let walk? Thank you guys, see you next video.